Hello everyone and welcome to the Great Gundam Project episode 136. I'm Jackson, I'm joined by M as usual.
It's Gundam time.
It's Gundam time, and this week it is a free episode because we're starting a new show and we are joined once again by a guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, how's it going? I'm Austin Walker. I am, you might know me from Friends at the Table, or from Waypoint Radio, or from being on GGP before.
Or from going, hey, you talking about that Gundam this week?
Yeah, Or from the Final Fantasy VII Remake spoiler cast abnormal mapping episode Jackson and I just did, which was very good. IMO.
We did that a couple weeks ago. That was less planned. That was just very spur of the moment thing. But we've been waiting to get to Wing for, well, since we started G, I guess.
I have been so excited for this for so long, and I'm glad we're here.
Yeah, me too. But before we get to Gundam Wing, has anyone watched any anime this week?
Nope, you're already jumping the gun. We have a format. It is episode 136.
Which means...
Austin, what Pokemon is 136?
I looked it up last night. I was so
cheating.
excited. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was a part of the guest. I was just curious. I was listening to another episode of GGP, and I was like, I wonder what the Pokemon is. I wouldn't have gotten it. Here's the other part. There's no way I would have gotten it. I just don't know them like that. I know them to look at them, but I don't know their numbers. That's not who I am.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a good
Jackson
one.
also already knows, unless they forgot in the intervening week.
Here's the thing: is I know what it should be, but I forget what. I know it's one of the Eevee evolutions, but I forgot which two I've already said because I said both of them last time, and only one of them was right. So
all right, 33% chance of getting this right. Hit me.
Is it Flareon?
Yes, you got it in one.
Wow,
Thank God.
nice work.
Yeah.
Flareon's Japanese name is Booster, which is sick as hell.
That's pretty good.
Booster to me feels like a good individual name for a Flareon.
Oh, okay. So Vaporeon is Showers, Jolteon is Thunders, and Flareon is Booster, which is very weird.
That's very weird. Yeah.
Because it's like a rocket, I guess. Like like the flames off of a rocket. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Flareon's
Jack,
good.
you want to pitch the show if people haven't heard it before?
Yeah, on the show we guess what Pokemon it is. Based on the number of the episode. This is a show in which me and Em watch every single episode of Gundam 2 at a time. We have been doing this for 136 weeks already. And we are just about to start Gundam Wing. Every single time we start a new show, the episode is free for everyone, so you can get a taste of what the podcast's like. If you want to listen to it afterwards, you can subscribe for $1 a month at patreon.com/abnormalmapping and join us on this Gundam journey.
Please do. It's really good. If you want to hear two people who are very smart come to understand Gundam across multiple series and also fan the flames of their internal leftists and become space communists, this is the show for you. Let me tell you.
I live in shame of what I said about like 0079 back at the start.
I know, but that's part of the journey. The journey is very much going from 0079 to Double Zeta and the arc of that, and it's I love it. Not that the stuff that comes after that isn't. It really is to Char's counterattack, right? Like that is like the which is also a free episode. If people want to go, is that still free? Is that still free on YouTube?
Yes, that is just free.
Okay,
just free.
People should go listen to the Char's counterattack episode, etc.
Yeah.
Charizard. Is this anything?
Yeah, sure, I'll take it.
Okay.
People have done lots of like Charmander wearing the Char mask fan art. It's all very good.
Of course.
But before we get into that, has anyone watched any anime this week? I know me and Em have something, and I know everyone has. Actually,
everyone
it's all
has
in the DMs.
You know what it is. Yeah.
I'm just hosting a podcast. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I watched Ghost in the Shell 2017, which you might say anime Janai, but I'm here to tell you that it doesn't matter. I'm going to count it. No one can stop me. It's my podcast, which is, of course, the disastrous live-action adaptation starring Scarlett Johansson as Major Mira Killian.
Excuse me?
Yes. because they couldn't use Makoto Kusanagi. However, spoilers for the movie, turns out that she is actually Makoto Kusanagi, who is a human, like college student who was an anti-cyborg agitator and activist who the government kidnapped with all of her other agitators and then experimented on to turn into the world's first fully cyborgized human brains. And erase their memories and then turn them into weapons that they then sold to Section 9 or other parts of the military for use.
I see.
Which
bad
is
movie.
bad. It's also delivered through a movie. Get this, Scarlett Johansson barely remembers who she is and feels like she is a weapon who can't understand human emotions and experience because of her conditioning. And so she goes around trying to find the secret of her origins. Black Widow in theaters this year.
Well, you can also, that feels like it just completely misses who Motoko Kusanagi is, who is someone who has a really strong grasp on her history and trauma, and has very little interest in like digging into that. And in fact, one of the defining characteristics of her is her like focus on her day job in relation to in instead of her own history or these issues.
Yeah. Also, on top of this, like, the movie has such a radically different perception of what being a cyborg is. Like, Togusa starts out Bateau starts out with normal eyes, and he gets injured in an explosion, and he has to get his eyes replaced. And his character trait, because there's no Tachikoma in this, is that he feeds stray dogs. And once he gets his robot eyes, he's like, Major, you need to feed the dogs for me. They won't look at me. I'm too scary now. And that's just not what Ghost in the Shell's about.
Right. Well, that's why she doesn't investigate the mystery, because there isn't a mystery. This is just what life is. In like, Ghost in the Shell is such a post-cyberpunk world, especially Standalone Complex, where like, yeah, everyone has a cyber brain. This is like part of the world. We've gotten out of the like we've gotten away from the bit where the story that you're explaining in the movie would have taken place. And I know adaptation is adaptation, and like sometimes you make different decisions, and I don't think it like soils the original or anything like that.
No,
but the idea that like Ghost in the Shell would be the place where it's like you've sold your soul for a cyber soul is just not what I go to Ghost in the Shell for.
Well, also, Togusa is Togusa and doesn't have any augments, so he is scolding his other members of Section 9 because they're spending their paychecks on, like, cyber livers so they can go out drinking every night. And, like, that's the version of cyborg they take in this.
No, the government gives them cyber livers so that they're owned by the government, and so they can send them to go drink every night as, you know, spies or whatever.
And then, like, so much of this is also wrapped around the racial politics of, like, the Major is white, but also Bateau is white. And they are two white characters who investigate, like, killer geisha robots and evil Yakuza who are all, like, clearly Asian and visibly augmented. Like, they all have, like, metal jaws or metal eyes. And this is before Togusa gets his eyes. So you get two, like, visibly intact white human bodies attacking a bunch of like augmented Asians that are depicted as subhuman, textually and subtextually, and it's just fucking terrible.
It is an awful movie. I did not watch it this week, but I have seen it in the past.
I've been mad that I didn't go see it in theaters, and now I'm less mad. Like, knowing that I probably wouldn't have liked it, I still was like, I should have gone. Like, I live near a theater. I should have just gone to see it. But no. I'm glad I didn't now. I wrapped back
You really
around.
didn't miss a whole lot. Like, I have a semi-professional curiosity in bad adaptations like this, especially of things we've covered, but I would not recommend this one to anyone.
Seeing as you already spoiled it, I have to mention that it, ends with an incredible reverse shot of Scarlett Johansson staring just blankly down at reverse shot a gravestone that says Motoko Kusanagi on it.
Oh my God.
and then her Japanese mom comes up and hugs her and is like, I have a daughter again.
There's an amazing article about that, which is like a bunch of Japanese people watching that scene and going, why would she hug her? That's not how anything works.
No, it's not how anything works.
Because they kept this in to have some brain genius explanation against the criticism, but didn't, talk to any Japanese people while making the movie. It's bad. It's bad. I read Ghost in the Shell.
If you're listening to this episode, we just covered Standalone Complex Season 1 during G Gundam, so that is why we're so into Ghost in the Shell suddenly.
Yeah, I guess that's an element of this show that should be mentioned too, is like often y'all will have almost always have a backup show, have like the first half of the show is the Gundam you're watching, the back half is like something else.
Yeah. Starting next week, it'll be Space Runaway Ideon, which you can watch on High Dive or Verve, which has High Dive in it. It is a Tomino show. We're going back to Tomino, desperate to feel bad about storytelling in an interesting way.
Yep. Very excited for that. But yeah, I just want to briefly mention, now you talked about Ghost in the Shell, that I read the original manga. You did as well.
Yes, I did read that.
And I don't have anything like too deep to say about it other than I think it's funny how much the adaptations kind of render it not irrelevant, obviously, because it's a cool thing. I just don't vibe with Shiro's like style very much, and I also think that the two adaptations, like the movies and Sandland Comics specifically, like the movies are really good. Like look at the philosophical musings on identity, and Sandland Comics is one of the best cop shows ever made. So it like takes the two disparate parts of Ghost in the Shell and does them way better than the original book. And then you go back to the original book, and it's interesting. I think the character work's a lot lacking, and the episodes that make up the book aren't amazing. But I was fine. I read it. It took about 2 hours. It was fine.
The one thing about Shiro, like I don't like his like over dense comic style, like writing or drawing wise. But he makes a short book. You can just read the thing and then it's over, and that part is nice, I guess.
I read that book 7 years ago. Don't remember a bit of it. It's like completely like, yeah, this is okay. Yeah, bye. The stuff that I remember about Ghost in the Shell are the movies and Standalone Complex mostly. So
yeah, absolutely. And I also wanted to mention that I watched the 2005 movie Kino's Journey, Life Goes On. We recently did an episode on a feed called Your Uncle's Beach House, which you can find either on the Patreon or on abnormalmapping.com. On Kino's Journey, the 2003 show. This is the first movie based on that. It is technically a prequel that goes into how Kino became Kino. And it's awful. It really breaks a lot of the show. I don't know how many people have seen it, but the show itself is like a nice, nebulously episodic in that any episode could really take place after any other. The time fades away. This connects the dots very explicitly, and brings in like the gender stuff in Kino in a really bad way. In the show, Kino uses like Boku and male, not pronoun. I guess there's pronouns. We don't really have an equivalent for the gendered I in English, but uses Boku throughout the show, and it's mostly an uncommented background element. It's not like a trans show or anything, but it handles it well, and I mostly appreciated it. In this, it specifically goes into why that change occurred for Kino, and wraps it up in like a tale of loss of innocence and violence and tragedy, and like Kino accepting I refer to myself as a man now while shooting someone in the head. And it's just like, great, this sucks in all the ways. I'm just proving that you look at something like, I'll give this the benefit of the doubt. It's like, oh no, what a shame. Yeah. The 2003 show is great though. And so it was a shame to see this movie be so boring and not boring, but disappointing. There are more movies that are from the original director of the 2003 show that I will check out later.
Yeah, the point of both of these things is that adaptation is the thing that works, live and die on.
Yeah.
Yep.
True enough. Well, I've been watching something. I've been watching Log Horizon, a show that y'all put me onto. I think Jackson, probably you're tweeting about the show last year is what made made it come to my attention. And then I don't know what it was. I think it was towards the start of quarantine and lockdown and stuff, maybe when I first started watching it. I was like, I just need something light and watchable. And it is one of the most digestible shows anime I've seen, in terms of just like, yeah, feed me another one. This is good. What good ideas. Just like interesting novel takes on isekai stuff, which is not where I thought I'd be in 2020, but here I am. I guess y'all have done an Uncle's Beach House on Log Horizon, right? Like pretty
Yeah,
recently.
two of them, in fact.
Oh, you did an original one and the season 2 one, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So I don't need to go too deep, but it's a one day everyone wakes up and they're stuck in an MMO. Everyone who's played this MMO is like in it. The new expansion drops, everyone's there. And I think the thing that I like the most about it is its like commitment to being an ensemble show where not only is the lead really interesting because insofar as it has a lead, it's a person who is interested in understanding the systems of the game, who is not like a fighter in most respects, but is, able to have the perspective on combat encounters and puzzles and dungeons and stuff, such that it is about someone who understands, whose perspective allows the show to understand the game instead of just like his might or something. He's like a tactician, and he's interested in as much rebuilding a society than as like conquering anything. And then it also commits a lot of time to younger players, to other parts of this kind of like the global response to this, or the kind of nationwide response to this, as different groups kind of try to either seize power or understand what has happened to them. And again, every few episodes, it's just like, okay, here's how we're going to deal with NPCs. Here's how we're going to deal with cooking. Here's how we're going to deal with item descriptions. And all that stuff is really novel and fascinating. But then there are these like inflection moments where it's clear something else is happening. One of the things I'm like obsessed with or thinking through right now is that the greatest power we've seen so far, literally because of the way magic is categorized, is the invention of the contract. I think the show might be secretly very conservative because like only Adam Smith could dream up the idea that the new magic, the thing that is the best possible new high tier magic, is this motherfucker learned how to write contracts, and that's what changes the world. There's a lot of other stuff in there around like nation statehood and banking and stuff like that that's also really fascinating, like separate from whatever my political read is on it, which is a really fun and interesting place to be in, because normally when I see that like streak of conservatism in something, it's just like so devaluing because it's boring. You know what I mean? But to see someone be like, this is how we build the new nation state. First we invent contracts, and then we make a deal with the bankers, is like, okay, are you seeing, is this allowed? Is this allowed?
Within 10 episodes, they've like invented the profit motive around bread.
It's incredible. Yeah. Yes, totally.
The cherry on this is that the reason there's been a huge gap between season 2 and 3 is the author of Log Horizon went to jail for tax fraud.
Amazing.
Reports claim that Tuono allegedly failed to file 120 million yen in royalties. Around US 900,996 4,000 whatever, basically $1 million.
Incredible.
Over 3 years. Yep.
He simply should have written a contract such that someone else paid the taxes for him.
But yeah, there's been a huge gap, and he's gone and served time for that, and is now coming back and writing more of this story about the importance of contracts.
That's incredible. But
I can't wait to see where this goes.
The thing about fiction that wants to deal with material, with like material social relations, is that like at that point you've given me the pieces. I can make the story that I can. You know what I mean? Like, you fucked up. You didn't obscure the social relations. Now I can perform the correct analysis, which is like about who has access to actual value, which in a game, in a world in which some people are immortal and other people aren't, becomes very readily apparent, and allows me to have a really fun read of the story, which has protagonists that sometimes I root for in the moment, but fundamentally might disagree with. It's a really rewarding show, given, I think, a lot of its kind of like genre conventions that normally put me off. I think here they tend to really work. Also, I do just love some of the characters, like the like younger clique, the like Suzu and Rudy and all them. Like, I fucking love them so much, and I hope that their lives go well. I'm not done season 2 yet. Please don't spoil anything for me. But they kind of just got out of a situation. So we'll see where the rest of the season goes. I think that they're pivoting to like the A plot now, which is kind of scary because like I don't know that the show does A plot very well. But we'll see.
The thing that I like about the setting of Log Horizon is because it comes in the wake of like other isekai were already really popular. It's about players like the game they're in is an old game that's getting like its like 10th expansion.
Right.
And they've all like a lot of the main adult characters have just played this game for years and years, and they're all friends. And they know the game, and they just kind of like they all got back in to play this new expansion, even though they'd fallen off and groups had drifted apart. And so they're not really interested in like the game part because they've seen it all. Like it doesn't matter to them. So they're immediately invested in the meta game, while the younger players are still doing RPG things. Like they want to adventure and they want to go on quests and level up. And like Shiro's not leveling up anything. He's as leveled as he's ever going to get.
Yeah, totally. It's great. I love it. He's playing Eve. Everyone else is playing WoW, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and the moment to moment, like, you can never tell exactly where it's going to land on. All the protagonists are immortal libertarians lecturing you about the value of freedom. Like, the most evil people that have ever existed. And then sometimes it's like, do they know? Yeah, so I'm very curious where it's going to go. Finding out that it's just like an infinitely running light novel series was good because season 2 just like lays down a bunch of plots that go nowhere. There's that one like bit in the start of the season where suddenly they reveal like something huge about the nature of the world that just they move on from, and then other plots happen. And it's just like a thing that they put there because someone discovered it in a lab. Yeah, it's wild.
So it goes. When is season 3 coming? Like in the next?
Season 3 is meant to be later this year. It is 12 episodes long. Who knows when it'll actually land? The arc has a good name.
Okay,
I'll let you find that out later when you finish season 2.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Yeah. There's also a bunch of light novels that are translated and a bunch of manga that isn't, because I really want to read Nyanta's cooking manga, but that's not in English.
Nyanta's the best. Listen, let me just say out loud, their decision to fucking give Nyanta a smooth black dude voice in the dub is brain genius perfect. I love it. So the second that motherfucker walked into that room and dropped that I was like, I love it so much. You have to understand, the character we're talking about is a big cat man, and I don't mean like a dude, like a human face with like cat ears. I mean, motherfucker has like, if you have a cat, look at your cat. Now imagine that he stands up 6'4" and carries 2 rapiers and is a good cook.
Him being like the master fencer chef, just the best boyfriend in anime.
He's incredible. Please move in. Please make sense of my life for me. I'm begging you. Chief.
God, yeah. It's pro Nyanta zone.
Yes.
Yeah, the dub is really good. I watched it with the dub. I watched a couple episodes in Japanese. I was like, this seems like a show I'd enjoy more if I could just kind of like watch it more casually. The dub is really good.
Yeah, agreed.
Fingers crossed that they get the same cast for the season 3.
Absolutely.
It's been long enough that you never know.
Yeah, true.
Well, that's a bunch of anime. It's time this week to talk about the first episodes of Gundam Wing.
New season, it's Gundam time. We're here to talk about new mobile report Gundam Wing, because they used to give these cool opening titles in English, of course, Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, because no one has any imagination. Is a show that came out in 1995. It is the first half is directed by Masashi Ikeda, music by Ko Otani. Character designs by Shuko Murase. Worth pointing out that Masashi Ikeda is not only the director of Gundam Wing, but did storyboards on Avadum's Paleson Files and the screenplay for Alone Again, and is the storyboard artist for Parasite Eve. Just a bunch of cool shit. And then Ko Otani, the composer, most famously did Shadow of the Colossus, which is great. He did the Gamera trilogy. So a lot of cool stuff. We're currently about to prep for a beach house on an anime called Haibane Renmei, which he also did the music for. And then the character designer has also worked on Mobile Suit F91 as animation director, Victory Gundam, character designer for Final Fantasy The Spirits Within, and
Yo.
Final Fantasy IX, and is the director of both Witch Hunter Robin, an anime I like a lot, and Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway's Flash in theaters
Hell
soon.
yeah. I'm so excited.
Question mark around both theaters and soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
After G Gundam was super popular, obviously they wanted to make a new Gundam. They specifically wanted a show that was bent more towards like appealing to women, because Gundam has always been a franchise with a strong female fan base. And my assumption is that G Gundam did not really do that because
weird.
it's just G Gundam's not like that. Originally, it was going to be titled Gundam Meteor, which is a sick name, honestly.
Sick name. If anyone wanted to do like a remake of this series, calling it Gundam Meteor would be fine.
Yes. But yeah, they wanted a more dramatic show, and so they did that. They wanted a Gundam team. That's why you get 5 Gundams right from the jump, because that was really popular in G. And here we go. Gundam Wing.
Gundam Wing, yeah. Episode 1 is called The Shooting Star She Saw.
So it is after Colony 195. Human beings went all into space to live and dream, and then they came under the grip of the United Earth Sphere Alliance, which has seized military and seemingly governmental control of all of the colonies. Seems like they're based on Earth. That part has not been super fleshed out, but that seems to be the case. And colonies have started to rebel with something called Operation Meteor, where they've dropped weapons to Earth like they're shooting stars, trying to get past the defenses of the Alliance. As those are falling, one of them is detected by a ship with some special officers. They're just called the Specials, and in that ship is one Lieutenant Zex, who is just a Char.
Yeah, I guess this is like, I mean, we've had like Urube and Glemmy and, you know, characters that are meant to evoke parts of Char.
This is just Char.
This is just fucking Char.
In voice
We in
acting,
it now.
in design, the mask that goes all like, yes. It's a cool mask. It's a cool outfit.
Yes.
Zex is cool.
I thought it was going to be Zex with 2 X's, by the way.
Oh my
When I heard
God.
people say Zex, that's how my brain spelled it. I'm glad to see it was just Zex CH.
Yeah, everyone's a number.
Yeah, that is
Anyway.
that is the thing that I forget every time I leave. Even when I was a kid, when the character numbers were popularly used in the fan fiction community to let you know who would be in a story. So you'd get like like 1x2 would mean something. Even then I didn't understand that that's because they had number names, because I was just a child and didn't understand other languages, I guess. But then I learned that eventually. But even still, I forget it every time I walk away from Wing and come back to it. I'm like, oh, right.
So Zex pursues the falling ship that he sees. It breaks apart as it enters atmosphere and reveals that it is a cool super plane. And they're like, oh, what is this? And then the computer screens do a lot of Gundam noises as it shows it has like an advanced movable frame. And I'm like, holy shit, Gundam's back. Finally, we're here.
Yeah.
It turns out sounds mean a lot, and
Yes.
seeing UI for a mech is important to communicate that there's a pilot inside. I mean, again, I know the G Gundam was just doing shonen stuff. I don't need to relitigate G Gundam. Y'all have done that for the last 25 episodes. But boy, I love robots. I love being in giant mechs.
It is a statement of intent to have some beeps go off and then they say Lagrange point within 3 minutes, and you're like, yes, I'm here to watch Gundam.
The first shot of this is like literally the International Space Station, but it's like a Gundam facility inside.
Yeah. Yes, the space shuttle takes off at some point.
Yes.
My actual favorite thing about this is in the opening, the OP, the reveal of the interior of the colony. Like, it opens with just like this slow, 10-second build of going up Heero, and Heero has his hand over his face because that's how he poses. My notes also just say, just wild beat communication, standing in the lashing rain. I want to show my passionate, undying feelings with my entire body tonight. Those are my first notes. But then 10 seconds in, there's this whip pan up above Hero's body to reveal the interior of a space colony. Which one is like, yeah, we're back, baby. But 2, it's miserable in there. Have you looked at this actual moment in the show? Because it's like there's no windows. It's immediately setting itself against you see like O'Neill type space colonies, because it's just like metal. It's just miserable. And I love that reveal so much. Anyway.
So they decide to chase after it, the fighter, and so Zex gets in a Leo mobile suit, which is just a soldier man, Gundam, or, a GM basically, and it is very cool. And they're like, don't you want to take the Ares? It's a flight suit, and he's like, no, it'd be better to have something that's more mobile than something that can go really fast. And then backflips out the back of the suit, out of the plane, and it's sick as hell.
It's very sick. The Leo is good.
It's very sick.
The pilot of that fighter pilot, Heero, we'll just refer to him as Heero, they don't reveal that until later, transforms it into a robot. They fight as they descend the atmosphere. Zex decides, he gets a parachute slapped onto his Leo and then grabs onto the Gundam, and it carries it down into the atmosphere with the idea that he's going to pop the parachute and it will sink and not crash, and then they can just reclaim it because they want to get the pilot, they want to get the robot. It's very important to them that they do that. They've not seen a Gundam before, though they know the idea of a Gundam, because they're like, oh, it's made out of Gundanium. It must be a Gundam.
Yeah, I found all that really fascinating. And I was like, holy shit, a Gundam, but this isn't this isn't Victory, right? Where the legend of the Gundam exists. So they have to recontextualize what that means. But we all do get to go when it transforms. That's a Gundam!
He also says the only people who can make Gundams are Oz and the Alliance, and Oz is a cool name for a secret faction group.
It is. It's very good.
So, as that's falling to Earth, it is spotted by a shuttle that is also descending, and inside is Relena, a young girl, and her dad, a Vice Foreign Minister Darlian, who is a member of the Alliance, and she is pouting because they were up in space, and he was not paying enough attention to her while they were in space.
She's like next level pouting, right? She's like, I mean, we'll get into this. Let's just finish this episode in summary and we can talk about Relena.
Okay. So the Gundam falls, the parachute opens as Zex bails out of the cockpit as they, once they enter atmosphere, and then jumps out and then pulls his own parachute, which is a very cool double parachute technique. I like it a lot. The Gundam and the Leo crash into the ocean, and, a Heero bails out at some point, and then we get a bunch of stuff with other people. So, Zex's superior, I don't know how to say this guy's name. Treize? Okay. Treize gets the report on what's going on. He goes to a bunch of generals and they yell at him for, the Gundam blew up a bunch of the other guys that were around the Leo as a bunch of Ares showed up, and they're big jetpack robots and they're cool. And you can't believe you lost 3 robots trying to capture one. He's like, but it could have been a Gundam. And they're like, oh, a Gundam. And then at the spaceport, Darling gets out with his daughter. The press are all there. They're asking him what was going on because he was there for a summit with the Alliance to try, or with the colonies to try to bring them in line, quash the rebellion, whatever. Nebulous politicking in the name of the Alliance, specifically. So that stuff all happens. And then he's about to, he's leaving with his daughter, and they're calling him away from a meeting. He's like, I have to worry about my daughter's birthday. And she's like, no, Dad, it's fine. Go on. And so he goes on in his own car, and she wanders around the beach, complaining that she could have pouted a lot more, and she didn't. And isn't that mean that she is a very mature girl for her age, to not throw a tantrum that her dad was not setting up a birthday party. And she sees a boy wash up on the beach. And it's Heero, who's here. She wakes him up. He panics because she took off his helmet and she can see his face, and he's a secret soldier who's fallen to Earth. He hits a button. Is this supposed to be like a kill switch?
Yeah,
I wasn't quite sure what this was.
He's trying to kill himself with a heart bomb, with a bomb placed over his heart, and it
doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It goes off, but it blows up outside instead of inside. It's incredible. Take the L.
And then as a bunch of paramedics show up, he runs up the stairs, beats them all up, leaps into the ambulance, and drives off in it. As Relena calmly watches him go, and then extends her hand and introduces herself to the fleeing boy. So we cut to the rest of the Gundam team who are all getting shit done. We see 4 other Gundams blowing shit up. We'll get to them when we get to them. We get all the boys' names, I think, though. It's Duo and Troa and Quatra and Wufei.
I think it's Katra, despite the
Katra?
inclusion of a U. I went and checked. You'd have to check the actual kana, but I'm pretty sure
that's fine.
It's Katra.
That makes it much easier to differentiate when I'm saying Quatra out loud.
So Katra and Wu Fei, and they're all in sick-ass Gundams. They're just blowing shit up. It's very cool. And then as that all happens, Zex shows his men pictures of the Gundams. He's like, oh, there's actually 5 Gundams. And his men are like, how is that even possible? And he's like, I don't know. Seems like a bad time. You know, I've heard that Gundams really fuck shit up, and here we are. There's so many of them. Relena is back at school. She's sitting down in her class, and a new student has been introduced, and it's Heero, our protagonist, who is the new exchange student, and she's like, oh, it's the kid soldier, and mutters to herself. The rest of the class, she is popular and rich, are wondering who she's going to invite to her birthday, as if she has one invitation that she gives out every year. And whoever gets that is prom queen, basically. And she decides to give it to this strange boy who she saw fall from the sky. And she hands it to him as the crowd looks on. He tears it up. The crowd is horrified that he would tear up an invitation from Relena. And he then, as he brushes past her, whispers in her ear, I'm going to kill you. And walks away. She's like, who is this man?
You missed one beat, which is he rips it up. She's horrified. He steps past her and wipes away her tears. And
yes,
for a moment, her lips curl upwards in a smile, as if there must be some mysterious, happy thing he's about to do. And then he says, I'll kill you, and walks away. And that is how they end the first episode of this show.
King shit.
King shit.
Truly incredible.
So I guess we'll start from this scene, because this is a scene that I've known about since before I was interested in watching Gundam, because it was always held up as look at this wacky anime thing that happens. And it's like most things in Gundam that the fandom talks about a lot. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because in context, this makes absolute sense. And we'll talk next time. Relena, 30 seconds later, realized that it makes total sense what he did. Because he's a child soldier in a hostile area. He's just fallen to Earth. He failed his mission in that he lost the Gundam. He failed his backup plan, which is to kill himself. And now he's at this school, and the one person who's seen his face is inviting him to her fucking birthday party.
Yeah, is getting involved. Is not
yes.
It turns out wants more information. She's got to go if you're for instance an off-world colony terrorist coming down to set things right.
But also, even if he's his actual intent to kill her or not, is to me up in the air. But he tears up the invitation, which immediately depicts him to the rest of the students as someone you don't approach because they're dangerous and scary. And then tells her that he's going to kill her in an effort to dissuade her from following him and asking more information. It doesn't work, but he doesn't know that.
Right, exactly. One of the things I think a lot about this scene, and just about what has been set up so far in this episode and gets developed a little bit in the next episode, is just this scene doesn't happen in any previous Gundam, because there's no sense of status quo in that way, or the status quo is so different, right? One of the things that's so distinct about this show, maybe we wrap back around to this in a bit, is just they're not on a ship going somewhere. They're not going around the world in a tournament or whatever. I'm not going to get more spoilery than that and talk about what the various arcs are, but to my recollection at least, this sort of thing just hasn't happened in previous Gundam shows where the protagonist goes to school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really fascinating in terms of trying to appeal to a different audience and tell a different type of story.
Yeah. It was surprising to me because the thing I latched on with the minute that he walks into that school is, it's Code Geass. We were at Code Geass.
That is also what I wrote.
I have a very different read on what anime it reminds me of next episode, actually, but we'll talk about that when we get there. I think it clarifies into something much different, but yeah, definitely.
But in this moment, it's Lelouch Lamprey found dead in Miami.
Yeah.
Because he just walks up to her and is like, I'll fucking kill you. As opposed to in Code Geass, where he spends the first 4 episodes trying to get any information out of anyone, despite the fact he has a superpower to do so, and then he loses a cat. So,
a couple other things I wrote down that I love, that I want to talk about with this episode. One is I really love that from the jump they call the Gundams arsenals. they say that the colonies are sending 5 new arsenals to the planet. And that is like, before they say Gundam, before they say mobile suit, communicates something about how this show is thinking about the Gundams. That is both fascinating, but also is kind of tied up with the stuff that I end up not necessarily clicking with Gundam Wing, which I'll save until we talk about the next episode. So we'll have a little bit more context with it.
I mean, this does like lead into the reveal of the other 4 Gundams, which are just like war-winning weapons.
They chump everybody out. Yes, exactly. The note that I have written down is, "Why are you no-selling war?"
The Gundams are the whole thing is that Zex is special because no one else in this episode sees a Gundam and lives. Like, they can't get any information because they kill everyone.
Because they kill everyone instantly. Because like, the Wing obliterates those 2 Ares suits instantly in a single shot because they're trying to communicate something about how powerful the Gundams are. But, like, also, just stop no-selling war.
I mean, what if Amuro had read the manual before he got in the Gundam?
Yes, no, totally. I get it. Like I said, I think this is important where they call it an arsenal. But it ends up producing a sort of combat focus in the show in these 2 episodes that is like, oh, but I'm not getting the part that I love about Gundam, which is the Gundam is better than everything else, but it's still a person in a tank fighting other people in tanks. This is like a person in a tank fighting people. That is how different their scale of power is. And that's the thing that I'm curious about.
Somebody play Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, it is exactly like 100. Like I've always thought that Gundam Wing is the one franchise that makes sense for Dynasty Warriors Gundam because of the power level of these Gundams. So.
So we get the 4 Gundams. There's Death Scythe, which we'll see a lot next episode, so we'll save that. We get the Heavy Arms, which is just, what if Gundam had all the guns? Gundam is a portmanteau of gun and gun. You get the Sandrock, which doesn't seem that special and has its own army, so that's actually, I'm really interested in what's going on with the Sandrock and the Maganak suits, which I do know the name of those because of Gunpla, because they're just fighting a war.
They're so sick.
And then we get the Shenlong Gundam, which is just the Dragon Gundam from G Gundam repurposed. They just stole it. They just put the G Gundam in the show.
Yeah. A detail I like that I need to double check this, but watching it last night made me feel like the Leo's head didn't have any articulation, like it was locked in place.
Yeah, that's my read on it. Also, it looks like it might turn like 30 degrees, but that's it.
I love it when a detail like that says something about the world and the setting, because like the Zaku is better than the Leo, the GM is better than the Leo because it can look left and right, without turning its whole body. It suggests something about the organization that would build them, about the contemporary, about like the moment of military power dynamics of what is necessary and not necessary. It's like they don't need to fucking look around. That we need them because they can hold big guns and look in general. They don't need to be quick. It says something about the status of the war, or it's not even a war.
The thing that Zex says before he leaves is, I want a suit that's like more maneuverable, like minute to minute, than one that goes fast.
Right.
And then he does like a really graceful backflip as he's leaving the plane, which implies that like the part where its head doesn't move like a person has no bearing on its capacity as a suit, which like detangles the like physical aspects of a suit from its capabilities, which I think is like really interesting.
Or it says like the ceiling is low. It says the Leo is the best we got for maneuverability right now, and that
but for me, like the Gundams they're people. They're basically in samurai suits. Mm-hmm. They look like heroic figures, and they move like humans. Basically, the Leo being like this weird squat tank that Zex can make move like a person, even though it doesn't look like it can do those things, is like a cool disconnect, because you don't need legs in space. You don't need to make the Gundams look like people. They just do.
Yes. Other note, important, Trey's eyebrows. What's going on, Trey's? They're real good. They like split. They do. I know this is deep, important stuff. It's the only reason I pause this podcast. Look at this motherfucker's eyebrows. He's a Dracula. This motherfucker has Dracula eyebrows. And I only underscore all this stuff because of how important it is to me when I am 15 when this show comes out. And I go, oh, what's up with his eyebrows?
What is up with it? Yeah, we'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's cool.
Okay. The one other thing about Relena, because we want to talk about her, is she is such an interesting intersection of all of the Gundam like girls that I have liked in the show. You get Fa Yuri, who is Camille's like childhood friend that gets treated very badly by the show as Camille's tag along. You get Quest, who is the young girl in Char's Counterattack, who is literally like again the daughter of a politician for the evil space imperial or like Earth imperialist faction, and it like exists to kind of question her father through petulance before space ideology falls on her head. And you get Katajina Luce, who is a rich girl who fucking hates being on Earth and just wants the bad people to die. And somewhere in between these three, if you like merge them together, you get Relena, who is like clearly in the mode of like the spoiled rich girl who knows how to get her dad, like kind of knows how to get her dad to do what she wants, but is maybe aging out of being able to like pull his strings like that, because he blows her off like twice in this episode. But it's implied that she used to be able to do this, and like she's like, now I have to be mature and have to not do these things, but I still want to do them, and I could do them, to herself, and also just really wants to meet the boy who fell from the stars, and is taken by him immediately, and like her very like, this is how the nobility works. I'm going to introduce myself and invite you to my birthday party. And then is even more taken when he tears up her invitation.
Relena is at all times, nobody ever treated me like a princess while being treated like a princess.
Yes.
100%. 100%. Also, she gets she's all throughout the ending, like the
Yes.
ending song, and that's great. It's fantastic.
Which is just her like hanging out, being rich on safari.
Yeah.
Basically.
It sure is.
Longtime listeners of the show would not be surprised to tell you that I think Relena is incredible.
Yes.
She rules.
I definitely was like, yes, Emma's going to just devour, just love all the Relena stuff. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Do we have other stuff, or should we take a little break and talk about some voice actors before we move on?
Yeah, let's talk about some voice actors, because I think all the other stuff is big picture stuff we need to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we watched the dubs, no,
you
cut
didn't.
That out. We watch the subs here on GGP generally, like across the board, for shows we're covering. I feel like it's kind of our job to watch the originals as best we can. I know that the dub of Wing is very important, partially because it's the first Gundam thing that ever hit America.
This is the case I will make when you're done talking about voice actors.
Yeah. So I would like to approach the dub at some point, like watch a couple episodes. If people have like clips from episodes we've covered that you want to send us, we will listen to them, of course. But we're going to cover voice actors, and we're mostly just going to cover the Japanese voice actors. And we're going to do that 4 at a time, maybe, depending on how many are introduced every episode. But we have 4 today. So first off, we have the narrator, who helpfully is also Vice Foreign Minister Darlian, who is voiced by Akito Otsuka. Maybe you know him as the voice of Solid Snake and Big Boss.
I do know him as that.
Maybe you know him as Hero Space Anavel Gato from 0083 Stardust Memory.
I also know him as that.
Maybe you know him as everyone's favorite boyfriend Bateau from all the Ghost in the Shell media.
Just unbeatable.
Yes. Other characters of note that I like, he is Curtis, the kind of villain in Porco Rosso. He is also the voice of Xehanort in all of the Japanese Kingdom Hearts media.
Great, of course he is. Why wouldn't he be?
You react this way every time I tell you this.
Have I done this before?
Because you forget every time.
Great. Good.
Zex is voiced by Takahito Koyasu, who is a favorite of mine. He is Gamlin in Macross 7, who is great. He is Toga in Utena, my other anime boyfriend, other than Yanta, is problematic fave. He is Dio in JoJo's, at least part 3. I didn't see part 1. I might have missed it, and in all the video games. So he's just the voice of Dio. He is Lon Ku in Fire Emblem Awakening and other Fire Emblem media, which I think is funny to me. And just for us, he is the voice of the Lumen Sage in Bayonetta 2. A cool ass character.
Yeah, that's good.
Heero is voiced by Hikaru Midorikawa. He has a ton of voice roles, ones that are notable for me. Android 16 and Tien in Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. He is Ale, the villain in the first arc of Sailor Moon R. He is Soji in Utena. He is Lee Jun-ke in Code Geass R2, the pilot in the China arc, the guy who sucks the most. He is Best Genist in My Hero Academia. He's Akihiko in Persona 3, all the Persona 3 media. He is the voice of Akihito. He is Marth in Smash and all of the Fire Emblem like anime and stuff. He's just the voice of Marth. And that's just true in Smash in America, at least in Melee, because he had the Japanese voice. I think they eventually fixed that, but he just talks Japanese in his original appearance. He's also the voice of Soma Cruz in Castlevania, which is not like a high voiced role. It's just funny to me that boys people like all around. Relena is Akiko Yajima. Her most famous role is Shinosuke in Crayon Shin-chan, the Shin of the title. I've never seen Crayon Shin-chan, but she's been voicing. She retired like 2 years ago from this voice, and like she retired from voice acting, but she just voiced that character for like 2 decades. She voices Mipple in Futari wa Pretty Cure, which is a show I like, and Mipple's great. She is the voice of Dorothy in Big O, which is a show that I really need to see. She voices Kohaku in Inuyasha, and she is the dub voice of Anakin Skywalker in Episode 1. Which, that's just for me
fun.
and Jackson.
Yeah.
So you want to talk a bit about the dub.
Well, I'm not going to go. What I'm not going to do is go over those voice actors.
No, that's fine.
The only one I will call out really quick is that Katra, and also one of Zex's like underlings is voiced by, I forget his name, the same voice actor as
Brad Swale.
Yeah, Brad Swale. Is it Swale? It's Swale. It's not Swaley. I always say Swaley.
I assume it's Swale, but I don't know.
And that's Amuro Ray's voice actor, which is and also I think Teen Gohan in the Ocean
he's specifically Amuro in the first Gundam dub and Char's
Counterattack. Yeah. But he's
the Zeta dub is all different people and much worse.
It's much worse for it. Yeah, 100%. But he's my Amuro in the sense that someone who first watched Mobile Suit Gundam with the dub, that was my Amuro. But first he was my Katra, which is kind of like the thing for me in the dub for this show is that it's super interesting to think about this show and the dub of this show as the way that a generation of Americans specifically came to Gundam and had Gundam defined for them. So many things that like again, let me just like paint the landscape a little bit, that in, the year that this came out, which is 2000 in America, when it came to Toonami, first of all, it came to Toonami in a way that was immediately revealing, which is that it would air in the afternoon, and then would air again after midnight as part of their midnight run block that was unedited. And so there was like blood, but also there were words, and even kind of larger conceptual ideas like religion were handled slightly differently when they came up. And so immediately like, oh shit, there's more out there. And so for me at age 15, who had not yet been to like underground anime trading websites or physical locations, it kind of tuned me in. The other thing is like at that point, what are the popular anime? It's Dragon Ball Z, it's Sailor Moon, it's Pokemon, right?
Yeah. I think 2000 or 2001 is like the year I saw Tenchi Muyo and Chobits, because my friends had weird bootlegs.
Right, so there's weird bootlegs. There's like slowly emerging anime convention scene. There is, stuff had been airing for years on like Sci-Fi Channel, and a few other things had like kind of made it through. But a lot of them were either things that had made it were like Ghost in the Shell, the movie, was being sold, or Akira was being sold. But those are expensive, and even this, like if you wanted to go buy Gundam, Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, New Mobile Report Gundam Wing on VHS, it was like $15 a tape for 3 or 4 episodes, or $25 a DVD. And let me tell you, DVD players are very expensive too. And so looking at what like else was going to be on Toonami during that era, like prior, I guess Robotech had hit in 98. So there's not there had been no mecha anime or more serious stuff. But you've heard the Robotech dub. It is bad.
Yes.
It is bad. It doesn't do well by the material. It doesn't do well by the themes of the material. And it was an incredibly dated show. In general, anime often felt very dated. It often felt like it was from the previous generation of what we had available. Even something like Dragon Ball Z, which we loved, always felt like it was from a different time a little bit. And then in 2000, Toonami airs some Tenchi stuff, but also airs Gundam Wing. And so it's like, before we knew who Amuro was or who Char was, before we knew anything about the relationship between the colonies and Earth and what Gundam was interested in, we learned it through this, a show in which, you know, the representation of the Earth is straight up saying, the thing we need to do is stop the colonies from building a coalition.
Yeah. The thing I really liked about this show from the jump is that it's just the subtext of Gundam made text.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I really appreciate that in, like, this show is clearly going for something a little more melodramatic and a little louder and brasher than
100%.
Gundam, like you see Gundam. But it doesn't do that in the way that like G does, where they forsake the themes of Gundam. They just make the themes louder and impossible to ignore.
Right, it's as toyetic as G is, but it's also got them themes. And I want to be clear that I don't think that I'm not saying that something like Dragon Ball Z or Sailor Moon specifically has themes. Sailor Moon is doing work, but one,
I think Dragon Ball Z has a surprising amount of stuff in it if you want to read into it.
Totally. But there was a big difference in the format of storytelling between those shows and this,
Yes.
which is within the first 15 minutes of this, you have to start thinking about what political factions are at work, and you see characters not necessarily understand their own relation to the world around them and society around them, not just in the personal sense, but in the larger macro sense. And again, I want to be 100% clear that I'm not downplaying that personal sense. The personal sense is extremely important and very, very foundational, but I just hadn't seen anything in animation that tried to do this work for me, and I certainly didn't see it for free on TV that was you know, part of a cable package my parents were already paying for. I maybe saw it over at a friend's house who had bought the Ghost in the Shell DVD or whatever, you know, but I definitely didn't just get to definitely didn't just stay up late to watch someone talk to me about political coalitions before this. And for that reason, I think the dub is really fascinating as like a student of Gundam to put myself in the position of the people of that moment who are watching the show for the first time. It doesn't mean I think you shouldn't watch the sub. Like, if you're watching the sub, awesome. Like, yes, that is also a noble, good academic pursuit of what the original thing was. But I do think it's fascinating to go back and hear this is what Gundam was for everyone who would then go, even for me, who like, oh yeah, of course, I like UC stuff the most. This is still the voices here, the way these characters talk were the template for me of everything else I heard after, even though it's obviously the reverse of that, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my bit.
That makes sense.
Also,
Music break. We should just music break go to the second
break.
episode.
Okay,
Unless you have
sounds
one last thing, Austin.
no, I don't. The last thing is I wish
Okay.
Zex chewed a little less scenery. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
Episode 2 of New Mobile Report Gundam Wing is called The Gundam Death Scythe.
Yeah. It's not called that in Japanese, is it? It has a different name.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure they don't say Death Scythe.
Wait, they made it...
Oh, they might. They just might. They say, yeah, I guess it is just Death Scythe. The title seemed like it said something different in Japanese for this episode.
My thought is it might be that they literally say Death Scythe, not in like.
Yeah, because
there's a
Gundam Death Scythe itself looks like it's just in katakana and looks like it might just be Gundam Death Scythe. But the name of the episode, I think, just might be in like the Japanese translation of that.
Oh,
which
interesting.
Is cool.
Okay.
The name of the episode in Japanese is Shinigami to Yorero Gundam, which I assume is I don't know which part
That's
of that.
sick. Yeah, I mean Shinigami is like
I know what that means.
death itself. Yes.
So I assume it was like the death gods of the Gundam Death Scythe, but I don't actually know enough Japanese.
Yeah.
But so yes, you're right. It was different, and
Yeah.
we know just enough Japanese to know. Wait, that word's not there, but not enough to explain anything. And so I embarrassed myself a bit there.
I think it's like something like it was called the God of Death or something like that. You know?
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes
that's
sense.
sick.
That's sick as hell.
Okay, so Heero is in school and he's fencing this fucking Baxter ass boy that he just soundly defeats. And then he's like a horse riding thing, and he's just really good at riding a horse, much like Char Aznavour himself. Great at horsemanship, and everyone's like, oh, at the class, like, where's he for equestrian practice? Like, I don't think he needs lessons. He's too good at that. And I realized that this isn't Code Geass. This is a new tennis school. This is just like shoujo manga staples in this show.
Yes.
Which is sick as hell to me, someone who really likes shoujo manga. Because he's just hanging out, being the best boy in the academy, and I love it. Which is all very good. Anyway, Zex is working on finding the Gundam Wing, which is in the bottom of the sea. He's in a submarine below the Alliance fleet, who are just in warships, like, big on cruisers, trying to find this thing. And he calls up to the very stern captain, who is not named, so he doesn't matter. And he's like, look, there's a problem with my sub. I'll lend you my mobile suits. They're Pisces and Cancer aquatic mobile suits, if you will do the search for me and help me repair my sub. And he's like, sounds good to me. And then as soon as he hangs up, his lieutenant is like, our ship's not damaged. He's like, no, you don't understand. I have to tell him that, so he thinks he's doing me a favor for doing my work for me. Which is what he does. So all that stuff back at school, Heero is really great at everything. And then after he's done showing everyone up, he sneaks up into a third floor office and hacks into the computer, which is apparently tied into all the computers on Earth possible, because he gets the schematics of missiles in the Marina warehouse nearby, produces a fake ID, wipes out calls all his student loans paid, and fixes his transcripts so no one will ask any questions about who he is. And he's just the master hacker, can do anything.
King shit.
So that's what he does. I read the scene, not like read it, I guess is the wrong word, but I like to think in this scene, he's just got like a program someone else has made and is sitting there thinking he's very cool as he presses 3 buttons to do his job.
The minute after he does all of that, he then gets on the underside of a truck and is riding it to the base where the missiles are. The thing about Heero that is good is that he put all his points into Child Soldier and nothing else.
It's amazing. The one shot of him like on the underside, and then like the truck never slows down, but at one point he like drops off, and they don't animate him like with momentum. They're just, at some point the truck just stops. The truck goes off and he's on the ground, and then he rolls off the road and then stands up rather than standing up first. He's so extra.
And at the same time he is riding on the truck, Relena is in the car, and she's like, oh, I get it. He said he was going to kill me because I know his secret. That makes so much sense. Of course he wants to kill me. And then the driver's like, are you reading one of those like thriller novels? And it's good. I love all of this.
It's really good.
So Heero gets all the torpedoes in, he sneaks in and sets up all these torpedoes to blow up. Meanwhile, all the underwater mobile suits are searching, and they get attacked by the Death Scythe. Which is piloted by Duo, who seems like, what if someone took all the stats that Heero dumped into Child Soldier and spread them around into being intelligent about things, but also being like the edgy one. I think Duo is pretty cool.
You think Duo is the edgy one compared to the I'll kill
his
you
whole
boy?
thing, his whole thing in the first one was like, if like anyone who faces my blade must die.
I guess that's true.
He's like the Heero is the shouty, like, I'm gonna get it done regardless, and Duo's just quietly over there like drawing skulls on his notebook and then getting it done.
I guess that's true. I've always played Duo, and this is a voice acting thing, as Sonic the Hedgehog.
I was about to say Shadow the Hedgehog.
He is attitudinal. That is the thing about Duo, and specifically the way Scott McNeil voices him. Scott McNeil, of course, everyone knows from Riverdale as that dude from the Southside Serpents. He has like such like a come on, bro type of voice that is, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe he's more of a Shadow or a Knuckles than a Sonic. But no, yeah, you're right. You're right that he does draw a lot of skulls on his notebooks. You're totally right.
So as this is happening, Zek sends out the guy who's voiced by Amuro in the dub, like unnamed guy who's like about to get owned this episode, into one of the like Cancer Pisces suits. And the thing I think is cool about this is they're just wearing like leather helmets. They're just like early 20th century football helmets, basically. Like no one's in a normal suit. outside of like the Gundam pilots so far as they were falling to Earth, which is very unsafe to go in the bottom of the ocean with no like breathing apparatus on. Does not go well for them. Death Scythe attacks, obviously, and then up above, the Alliance fleet hears that the Death Scythe's attacking and just like dumps torpedoes down, which of course, because Zex is in a submarine between the bottom of the ocean floor and the ships, just gets attacked by a bunch of torpedoes by ostensibly his own men, kind of, which is good. Zex just being mid Gundam Char scheming in a submarine this episode. Love it.
It's so
Absolutely
good.
Adore it.
It's so good. I love the focus on the lack of information between these different people, right? Like they can communicate with each other, but they don't have like perfect vision of the battlefield, and that is like really important in communicating the state of what their technological like prowess is like, you know?
Yeah. Then the Gundam Death Scythe does the unthinkable, and seconds before the door shuts, gives us something that Evangelion stole wholesale as the Death Scythe leaps up onto the boats, being sick as hell.
So I was literally just seeing if that was true.
It's probably not true. I feel like we're starting to run across the, like, there's not enough potential for production time for that to be really a thing.
The other thing I did want to correct, Ava was available by the time this came out, but Ava was available for like $30 DVDs with 4 episodes on them. So I had not seen fucking Ava before I saw Gundam Wing. But no, yeah, Ava comes out, October of 95? So it is like 6 months, but...
This episode aired April 14th, 1995. You know? Episode 8, which Asuka arrives in Japan, which is I think the one. Yeah, that's the one. Aired in November 22nd, 1995. So this is like sliding in and grabbing its hat.
Yeah, it's right there. You're totally right. I'll get. You know what? Because fuck Anno, I'm gonna give it to Gundam Wing.
It's just fun. It's a great scene regardless. Anytime mechs interact with a boat, it's different in Ava where like the mechs seem like they are not capable of doing shit in water because Ava's a very different type of show, and the Death Scythe seemingly can just use energy weapons underwater no problem. A guy's like, I can't believe he can do that as he does it.
And again, this ends up being the thing for me that I struggle with is like, these are the suits made to do good work underwater. Why are they getting chumped out by this thing that is just a big robot? Anyway.
It's true. Even Amuro could not defeat men underwater easily.
Right, so. He had to get good at it. I mean, you're right. They already read the manuals. They got good at it. They already put their points in their character sheets. They didn't do it like as they go. I get it, but it's tough for me.
I spent this episode thinking about, this is very similar, but it did remind me of that extremely cool moment in Alno Zero where he puts that guy under the water and the energy expands and he explodes.
Yeah, that moment's sick.
Yes.
That moment's so sick. The first 3 episodes of Alno Zero rule.
Anytime a mech is interacting with a boat, it's probably a good time. Yes. I think generally is a safe thing to say.
Yeah, it's good here, it's good that, it's good Neva, it's good Metal Gear Solid 2, it's good every time.
Yes. So Relena's birthday party, a very fancy, very boring looking birthday party. Her dad's about to leave because he's been called away on business and accidentally drops all the photos of the Gundams falling to Earth. And she's like, at exactly that moment over the radio that they just have on at this birthday party, the news broadcast says, please do not worry about the shooting stars. They definitely weren't weapons or people falling to Earth. They were just meteors. My shirt saying the things falling to Earth are just meteors is causing many questions that are answered by my shirt.
I hate it when I'm trying to surreptitiously leave my daughter's birthday party and then I drop the photos of the Gundams that have secretly arrived on my planet.
Yes. And so she realizes 2 things at once. 1, Heero is one of the boys who fell to Earth. And 2, that the things that she hears on the news are not true.
Love it.
Ideology hits like a freight train.
They be lying on the radio.
Yes. At the same time this is happening, Heero is driving back from where he reprogrammed the torpedoes in an ambulance, and who spots him driving but the Baxter kid he almost killed in fencing class, who is on his way to the party in a tux in his motorbike with flowers for Relena. And then as that's going on, we get a cut to what everyone is doing, which is just the most outrageous non sequiturs stacked up on top of each other. Troa has joined the circus by taming a lion because he has no fear. This fucking guy. And then a trapeze artist lady, a girl watches him and she's like, something strange about that boy. And I'm like, yeah, no, definitely a lot of things strange about this boy. And then we see the heavy arms in a truck nearby. We cut to Katra out in the steppe desert. It's hard to say. It's like, grasslands and desert areas with all of the Maganak suits hanging out. And he's in a tent with some binoculars surveying the scene as his butler brings him some tea, saying, "How do you like the earth, young master?" And he's like, "It's so beautiful. Don't they understand how beautiful this is? Fucking Gundam is here."
Gundam is here!
Yeah.
There are flamingos on his
Yes, as pink flamingos hang off the lounging, what is it, Sandrock Gundam?
Sandrock,
and yes, pink flamingos, obviously, grand tradition in Gundam. Itano himself animated the flamingos in Gundam 0079.
Yeah.
And then Wu Fei, this extra motherfucker, don't know anything about his personality, but he's definitely buying a truck full of explosives, the truck included, as his Gundam sits in the lake nearby, and the soldier's like, "We're just gonna leave this truck full of bombs with this kid?" He's like, "He paid, his money's good, I'm not asking any questions."
Yep.
I have a submission in watching Gundam Wing, and it is trying to understand why 15-year-old Austin thought Wu Fei was the best boy. Not a popular best boy. Like, we don't have to get into specifics. People don't like him. Like, that is not, or like, he isn't a popular paired character. He isn't like, he's abrasive in a real way. They're all abrasive in different ways, but I don't know what I liked about him so much, but he was my favorite. I didn't even like his fucking Gundam. Like, Death Scythe was my favorite Gundam at the time, because of course it was, because I drew fucking skulls on my notebooks. but I liked Wu Fei best, and I don't know why the fuck I did, so I need to really get into my own brain while doing this rewatch.
Based entirely on these two episodes, I would peg probably the Sandrock as my favorite of the five. Yeah. I think it looks cool. It's also the most that seems just like a normal ass mobile suit, so of course it's the one I like.
Yeah, and it's surrounded by really cool mobile suits, and like it seems like there's like an interesting dynamic there. Yeah, totally.
So the Baxter kid goes to Relena's party and is there and is like, I guess because he thought maybe that it wasn't actually Heero that he saw, and he's like, "Oh, it must have been Heero." And she's like, "Heero, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, he's not here, and I saw a kid looking like Heero driving an ambulance, but it was like an ambulance away from a military installation." I was like, "That couldn't be possible." She's like, "Oh, that must be him. Obviously he'd be doing these things," and goes to rush off, and all her friends are like, "We'll come with you," and she turns around and yells at them, "Absolutely not, you will not come with me, you peons."
I'm starring in an anime over here.
Which is very cool. So all the Oz suits find the Leo, and then nearby they find the wing. They go towards the wing, and then the car alarm on the wing goes off. And they're like, "Oh, it's triggered a self-destruct sequence." And as they're about to do that, the Death Scythe comes in, kills fake Amuro and all the other guys, and then looks down at the Gundam Wing. He's like, "That's just like my Gundam," which is the first time I realized these 5 kids all have Gundams, don't know each other.
Yep.
Which I'm very excited for this to play out, because I assume they were just like a well-oiled Gundam team. No, they don't have a fucking clue. And so he cuts out the bomb, the self-destruct thing, and he's like, "I'll use this Gundam for parts," and picks it up and goes to haul it out of the water. Relena shows up at the seaport only to find it like, explosions and alarms going off as Heero's trying to steal a submarine to load it full of the torpedoes he's programmed to go blow up his own fucking Gundam.
The torpedoes he's stolen. There is a real dedication in this show to just putting people in the places they need to be to have the scenes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. You don't need to know how he got command of a submarine. No. It's just cool that he did.
It's cool that he did. You don't need to know how these characters got onto a heavily defended military base alone enough to have conversations, but...
Yes. So, she tries to stop Heero. She's like, "Oh, you're the boy. We need to talk." And he's like, "Absolutely not." Turns and pulls a gun on her. He's like, "You're in too deep. I have to take care of you." Heero going, "You're in too deep" is maybe one of the 5 best lines in all of Gundam so far. And so he's about to shoot her and then gets shot in the arm. And it's just a glancing blow, but who could it have been? It's Duo, who lands on the deck and is like, "Unhand that young woman," as his Gundam hauls up the wing, remote piloted, trying to get these Gundams out of the water. And Duo is about to shoot Heero, and Relena jumps in front. It's like, "You can't shoot him," as he's trying to to figure out what the hell is going on. Heero sees the opportunity that the Gundam is right here. He's like, oh, I've got it. Gets on the like crane platform in which all the torpedoes are, ignites the fires off the torpedoes, which just take off like a rocket platform. And then he like flips off the back of it into the water going, mission accomplished, as he then face plants into the water.
Into the shallow, he just, it's so funny.
The torpedoes hit the Gundams. They seem intact but fucked up as they fall into the ocean. Duo's like, he knew exactly how to hit the Gundams. Is he one of the Gundam pilots? And, you know, all the contact has been lost, and Heero's face down in the water as we reach the end.
There's an amazing shot of of Duo being like, oh, he knew, he's so smart, he's figured it all out, he's the pilot. While in the background of the shot, he is face down in the shallow water, completely passed out and useless.
Oh, God. There's also some interesting lines here that are like, I'm happy that I'm so far away from having seen this whole show. We're now caught up with the last time I tried to watch the show, which was like 2 years ago. I tried to do a rewatch. I got through 2 episodes. I was like, I'm not in the mood. And then before that, it was probably a decade. The last time I watched more than that, I probably only watched 15 episodes then. And so I have no idea what Heero means when he goes, finally, mission accomplished, having destroyed the Gundam. Instead of... I guess I read it's what you said before, which is like he feels like the mission has failed, and so now he has to destroy it. But
if he couldn't successfully land, I assume that his fallback plan was blow up the Gundam and then kill yourself. And seemingly he thinks he has just done both. He has done neither.
He's done neither.
The show
continues. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And also on top of that, there was never a plan in his head that was like, meet up with another Gundam pilot and try to repair my Gundam, which I don't know was broken that badly to begin with.
Yeah.
I love it. I also love Duo's flash device. Does he throw a flare? Does he, he holds out a device. He literally takes out a baton that has a flashbang on the end of it, type it like a flare that blinds everyone. I love that device. Mm-hmm. It's a great little character, beat for Duo to be the person who carries around illusion tricks.
Yes. I also like the Duo saw another Gundam and his first thought was, well, I can tear this apart for parts. I don't need them, but I might someday.
Yeah, totally.
Duo definitely the gamer of the group.
Duo playing XCOM over here. Duo is
yes.
ready. Yes.
Duo and Usa'u and AU Fic, where they just hang out and play video games together.
Gamers rise up.
Gamers rise up. So what do y'all think of Gundam Wing?
I think it's cool. So far.
I really like these 2 episodes. It's extremely extra, which I know that we get the beat of being the people who are all themes all the time. The thing that seems to neglect is that I really like when things are very outrageous in a thoughtful way. It's in service of something. It's melodramatic and silly, but in ways that are fun and don't destroy its own fiction. And still work as a whole. And I think these 2 episodes are the strongest opening Gundam has ever had, probably. Victory's close, but Victory's a weird mess because of the way it's edited together. But I think this is good.
I think I'd say 079 probably pips it out.
It's hard for me. 079, because of its era and because of what it is such a different show. It's hard to compare those 2 things at that point. I think after 079, Gundam becomes much, or anime is different, so it's easier to hold things up together.
Oh, absolutely. But
yeah. Again, I just need to emphasize, 15 years old,
Yes.
sophomore in high school or whatever the fuck I was, just losing my shit over this stuff. Just out of my mind.
The thing about this show is I definitely have seen bits of it in the era and thought it was dumb because I didn't like shows about military or tough boys. Mm-hmm. And so I just completely bounced off of the idea of mecha until a couple years ago. And I was like, if Austin likes Gundam and Austin likes a lot of things I like, I'm going to watch Gundam, I guess. I'm building these robots anyway. I might as well find out where they're from.
Right, yes. I really...
I know.
Go ahead.
Oh, you
I was saying I really want to build some Gundam. Watching this made me want to build some Gundam Wing Gundam, and that Gunpla, and that indicates that it works. The vector to make me want to buy toys, it works.
Yes.
Yep. Well, I know you said that we get accused of being themes all the time, so I'm going to do that.
Hell yeah.
And that my reaction to this episode is that because it's so like it's basically just doing UC again in so much of a deliberate way that all of the ways where it's not doing that are like really interesting. And I've been thinking about them a lot, and these episodes don't have like huge ways to dig into them, but there's definitely like signifiers of, okay, what's going on here? So like in Gundam, right, the Zeon, Zanskar, Cosmo Babylonia, etc., are often the idea of like space aristocracy through which national identity is forged in opposition to the Earth Federation's hegemony of the world. And in this, having like the Earth is like, it's called the Earth Alliance, so it's clearly like an all-encompassing imperial like hegemony in this world, but has all the aristocratic aesthetics. Yes. So what does that mean about what the values of the Earth Alliance are? We've never seen those two things be in the same place. We always have the like aristocracy be bad, but in opposition to a worse thing, and see that dynamic play out. So I don't know what that means and what that means about like, okay, what is the colonies going to look like? Because are they an alliance fighting the Earth Alliance? And clearly not very well, because the Gundam fighters are all from their own places and don't talk to each other, and the Earth Alliance is very concerned with making sure that the colonies don't form into like a unified front. And so I've just been thinking about like where that's all going to go. Obviously don't know yet, but I think it's really interesting in how Wing presents a vision of UC, but not... Why is... Well, a fake Shah is a Earthnoid aristocrat. Like what?
Who is part of a group called Oz that seems to be different than the military, than the Earth military. And I think this is something that I just want to like point towards going forward. Is like, when I think about this stuff, I think about this as a show in the 90s largely because it is responding to a different political moment. I mean, obviously, it's not necessarily responding to, it happens to be in that milieu, and so when you sit down to write a Gundam-ass Gundam story, what you go to write is going to be different. I have no idea what the intentions were of the authors. But in terms of focal points, I think it's probably worth reading the show, thinking about the 90s as a moment where the nation state was not the end-all, be-all of hegemonic power, or that like the space of where power was diversifying, and that like there is the conflicts are need to become even less cut and dry than the way that even previous Gundam shows set them up, where like the actors are all a little more compromised or a little bit more convoluted in their relationships towards each other. And I think that's probably part of why the show ends up getting a rap as being very soap opera-y and melodramatic and complex and hard to follow. You get a lot of Wow Cool Robot as like a defense of the show, as like, listen, I don't know what the fuck happened, but I love the robots. And I think actually what's happening is, even when this first few episodes that throw you in the fucking deep end, by the way, and just like, all right, I guess I have to understand that Oz is not the same as the Earth Alliance. I have no idea at this point what the colonial relationship is between the different space colonies, or is there a coalition? Is there not a coalition? Like, I don't know what Relena's dad does. Like, all that stuff is like really seat of your pants. You gotta just trust that they're going to explain that stuff. Again, one in the 90s just felt very true, or something like watching it in the year 2000, right? Felt very true to my young, slowly developing political mind. It's like, yeah, you know what? People on the radio do be saying lies. You know what? Like, it does seem like the military-industrial complex is distinct, but related to America, the nation state, but I don't really know enough to understand what that means yet. And this is a show that, like, I think does want to dig into that stuff, or does dig into it by necessity of the way it sees the world, which is distinct from, you know, like, Anaheim Electronics exists in UC, and if you dig into supplemental material, or even if you think about like the way 0083 goes, stuff like that, it's clear that it's a player in that way. But when they say only Oz or the Earth Alliance could have built this, you suddenly go, wait a second, there's the Earth Alliance, and there's also something else called Oz, and they both get to build the same type of weapons? Okay, weird. And that is so much different than the way Gundam felt in most of previous Gundam. Again, with the exception of those supplemental shows that dig into how a robot gets made, you know? So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really curious to see if I remember what I remember.
Yeah, going through Victory was good because I feel like Gundam can never hurt me again. I managed to follow the entire Zanskar Civil War off screen through one line every third episode.
God. Yeah.
So it'll never be that confusing again.
Victory is similar in that it reflects a certain like balkanized moment in time, right? Like there is there are a million factions in Victory, and it's not clear how they come together for a long time. Then you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. But this ends up feeling a little different even still. And so yeah, I would just say like that's a line to pay. That's a through line for this season worth paying attention to.
The other big thing that I really enjoyed is that one of the things I knew about Wing is it is like, and I'm not going to say more than this, but is the show I heard it referred to as like the pacifism Gundam. Which we'll get into how true that is later. The popular opinions on what Gundam says about war are wrong a lot of the time anyway, so that doesn't matter. What matters is that I have that in my head, and never before have I met children ready to fucking do some murder.
They kill so many people so readily out the gate. They show up and they're like, I'm gonna kill all these people. They gotta go.
Like, the Gundam, and even G leans into this with like the way that the Gundam fight selection happens, is that being a Gundam pilot is something often forced onto a child as like this burden of trauma that the state puts on to like a pilot that becomes the avatar for like, the way the Gundam ends up winning every war. Whereas in this, there's none of that. You're introduced with the kids already in the pilot, ready to do some murder. Let's go.
Except for Katra, who is like, I told you, please don't make me kill you, sir. Sir, please don't make me kill you. I told you not to make me kill you. But
then he's like a kid kicking up his feet, like as he drinks tea and looks at the grass.
And is surrounded by other military people who seem to be working with him. I'm so excited to watch the show with 20 years of ideology in my brain and understanding because like stuff like what is the distinction between the way that they show something like Gundam Death Scythe, or that it goes from showing Katra begging someone not to make him kill them, and also being surrounded by other military forces, which means that he doesn't have to do all the killing, right? Like, he has other people to pull the trigger for him. To Wu Fei, who's like, I'm not hiding shit. I'm right here. My name is Wu Fei. I'm here to kill you. But let me buy some of your explosives also, is really interesting in terms of putting that character work together. And it's making me excited because I've watched a lot of Gundam along with y'all, and each one, except for Double Zeta, puts a lot on a single character's back as the vector for Gundam violence, right? Like, it's Victory, other people end up with Gundams, but it's not the same as like Double Zeta, where like, yes, there is the Double Zeta, but that show understood the Gundams as mechanisms for combat and for force, but that they were flexible and that sometimes you wanted to take out the Zeta or even the Mark II for some reason. Like, that happened throughout that show. And because of that, you ended up getting the different character of the pilots, right? You had someone who was like, I'm piloting the Hyakushiki, and that says something about who I am as a person. And here, having 5 protagonists who all have Gundams that are representations of some idealized body and blah, 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 it puts a lot in play in a really good way. So I'm very excited for that stuff. Even if also my favorite version of Gundam is when Char is like in a skirmish with Amuro, outside of the Kingdom in Seattle, like fighting in the dark streets. Like, that's still my Gundam, but I'll deal with these overpowered super god Gundams if sorry, that was the previous show. That's not this one. Super powerful Gundams if I can get the extra characterization here. So yeah, I'm hyped. Yeah. I'm excited to be here.
Do we have any other final takes, or is that it for this episode?
I think that's it for
the music
episode.
Is good. I just want to reiterate.
Yes.
Gundam.
I watched the OP 4 times before I watched the first episode. I was like, I gotta watch that again.
Yeah, I think that's it. Obviously, if you're listening to this as your first episode, every Wednesday we'll cover 2 of these. We will be starting Space Runaway Ideon again next week. We'll be watching 2 of those every week.
What's the deal with that show? I know that's a Tomino show, but I don't know shit about it. Is there like a elevator pitch, or do y'all not even know?
I know the robot is enormous. It's like Macross size big.
Well, like Macross, the
that's
ship,
that's all
like Macross.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, like Macross ass Macross.
That's a big robot.
I know that it got cancelled and has a movie.
Yes.
The movie is like an actual ending as opposed to Gundam movies where it was just a compilation and they did more. I don't know. I can tell you some other things we think we know after.
Yeah,
like,
we don't have to do it on mic. Yeah.
But yeah, you can get that again on High Dive or Verve if you are in North America, maybe just the US. I don't know. It's always hard to tell what's what there. But other than that, I guess we're done. Austin, where can people find you online?
Find me on Twitter at Austin_Walker. If you like giant robots, let me tell you about Friends at the Table Season 6, Partisan. I think our best... It is... You know how these 2 episodes just like ruled out the gate? I think Partisan is our version of that. This is probably our sharpest episode or sharpest season out the gate. It is about compromised actors in a space empire vying for power, trying to make ends meet, and maybe slowly coming to realizations about the world that they live in. It has been a blast. We've been playing Beam Saber, a really fantastic Forged in the Dark game. It's an actual play podcast, by the way. I should have framed that if you didn't know that already. If you've bounced off of us before, if you've been like, I don't like actual play, but I love Gundam, please give this a shot. If you get like 2 arcs in, which is like 4 episodes, if you get 4 episodes in and you're like, this isn't for me, I'll totally get it. But if you give us 4 episodes, I think we might win some folks over who have bounced off of us before. So that's friendsoftheTable.net. You can support that at friendsoftheTable.cash. And also just go listen to Waypoint Radio sometimes. That's a podcast that I do also. You know about that one. It's fun.
Jackson.
The artwork for this season was made by the fantastic Carey, who is at Careybo on Twitter. That is CAREYBOU, all one word. Go give them a follow. You can find me at Headfulsoff on twitter.com. You can find other podcasts that me and Em make at abnormalmapping.com. There's loads there. They're all very good. I think I'm very proud of them. You should check out Raptori Screenings. That's our movie podcast. We're about to do, later today, we're going to do an episode on His Motorbike, Her Island, the Obayashi movie, and I'm very excited to record that. That'll be up soon as well.
Yeah, we also have a game club. We are just about to put out our Halo episode when this goes up. You can find that at thebestgame.club. And I'm excited to talk about Halo. We just did Disco Elysium. We have Kentucky Route Zero coming up. We are a Patreon supported podcast. After this, the episodes are going up on there for $1 a month. You can go to patreon.com/abnormalmapping. And you will get those, again, for $1. And if that's not enough for you, if you're like, I need to try a few more, you can find all of our free, first season Gundam episodes at timetogoax.is. If you just want Gundam shitposts, you can go to our Twitter feed for this show at timetogoaxis on Twitter. I am at EM_being on Twitter. I think that's everything. Tell your friends, if you're new to this, please go back. I think our Double Zeta and Victory seasons are our best seasons so far.
They're so good.
Double Zeta is when we discover ideology in real time watching Gundam. It's incredible. Victory, I just think we're on the ball. I think we just nail it as we go through that show. I think it's really strong for that.
Yeah. It's good. The Gundam's good. I hope everyone enjoys. I'm assuming we'll get some new people here to just, Wing was big. People like Wing. So if you're just here to listen to Wing, then welcome.
Totally. Listen to this. It's good. GGP is one of the few podcasts I try my best to stay current on. I also try to stay current on abnormal mapping, but I'm a Gundam person, and this is if I have to make a priority, I have to hear y'all talk about Gundam. I talk about video games in my day job all the time. So,
yes.
But
we feel that as well.
No one talks about Gundam, and y'all do such a good job of it. So please know that Em and Jackson have my highest recommendation. Please listen to the show. Go back. The whole thing is good. I know what it's like to look at your old work before you were you felt like you had it and be like, oh, did we do a good job? But it's still great to hear y'all talk about how good Time Beast still is. One of the all-time best Gundam 79 shows or episodes.
I think the first season is genuinely not what I want the show to be at this point, because we've changed so much, but watching it blossom in real time is the journey, and I wouldn't ruin those shows to do that. Just because I'm unhappy with them doesn't mean they are not worth it. Also, it helps that a lot of what the show becomes is walking you through Tomino's increasingly labyrinthine writing style, and 079 is just not that show. You don't need it necessarily for that.
That's just a normal television show.
Yeah. compared to Zeta and Victory, it's like the most straightforward show in the world.
Well, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yeah. We'll have a guest next week, actually. I did confirm, so we'll have Sylvia, also from Friends of the Table, and Emoji Drome here to talk about Gundam Wing. So,
yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.